Alright guys, so this is Robbie1 Kenobi back again with another video, and I did plan on coming on here and making a video, but I didn't plan on making this video. I just found out the news that Bobby the Brain Heenan, legendary commentator, manager, WWE Hall of Famer in the class of 2004, has sadly passed away. He was 72 years old. Of course, Bobby Heenan has been battling health issues for many years now. He was diagnosed with throat cancer in 2002. And, it wasn't until, I want to say a few years later, that you saw big changes in Bobby the Brain Heenan's appearance. If you look at Bobby the Brain Heenan in his prime, and then you look at Bobby the Brain Heenan now up until his death, you saw a huge difference in his appearance, and it's obviously because of all the surgery he's had because of his throat cancer and whatnot. And this video, the best way I can put it to you guys is I'm shocked and I'm saddened by the passing of Bobby the Brain Heenan, because he is one of my favorite personalities in professional wrestling. And I saw pictures of him recently. I heard he wasn't doing well. He had serious health issues. And I always remember thinking to myself, like, the day I have to come on here and make a video about Bobby the Brain Heenan's passing, I just was thinking like what I would say and everything. And unfortunately that day has come. But, like I said, Bobby the Brain Heenan is one of my favorite personalities in professional wrestling, and he's one of the greatest, if not the greatest, manager, and commentator. And Bobby the Brain Heenan was just something special. When I think of Bobby the Brain Heenan, I think of two specific moments in his career. First off, the 1992 Royal Rumble, which is arguably his finest hour, because that was his finest night of commentary, especially in the 1992 Royal Rumble match. Just hearing his commentary, hearing how he's so behind Ric Flair, and how he knows if Ric Flair loses the Royal Rumble match, he's going to lose a fortune. Everything Heenan said in that match was gold, from, his first reaction to when Ric Flair came out at number 3 to when Roddy Piper came out and went after Ric Flair, his reaction there. Like, I could go through my favorite moments of Bobby Heenan's commentary during the 1992 Royal Rumble match, but you guys just have to see it and witness it for yourself. It's Bobby Heenan's finest hour. And I love the 1992 Royal Rumble match. It's the greatest Royal Rumble match in Rumble history. It's one of my all-time favorite Royal Rumble matches. And Bobby the Brain Heenan's commentary just makes it even more special. The other thing I think of when I think of Bobby the Brain Heenan is that classic moment when Shawn Michaels turns heel and betrays Marty Jannetty, super kicks him, and throws him through the plate glass window of the barbershop. And Bobby Heenan calls it only how Bobby Heenan can call it. He calls it only how Bobby Heenan can. And that is, of course, and I should have had the clip ready so I could play it for you guys, but you guys know what I'm talking about. When he goes, Jannetty tried to dive through the window to escape. What an act of cowardice. It's like, that's what Bobby Heenan was best at. He could take a moment like that and he could twist it in his own perspective, and it was just classic. Another moment, and it's not him twisting it, but it's just how funny he would do something like that. And I mentioned this when I talked about my favorite WrestleMania moments with my fellow Horseman brothers, was at WrestleMania 7, the emotional reunion of the Macho Man, Randy Savage, and Miss Elizabeth. And when Bobby the Brain Heenan sees the women in the crowd crying, and I was cracking up when I talked about it the last time. I love how Bobby the Brain Heenan in that moment said, maybe her shoes are too tight, or maybe she ate a chili dog with onions. Only Bobby the Brain Heenan would do something like that. And that's a testament to the great ring announcer, or commentator, ringside commentator, that Bobby the Brain Heenan was. I love that moment. I love the 1992 Royal Rumble, and I love the moment of Jannetty diving through the window to escape. See, that's what made Bobby the Brain Heenan just such an iconic commentator And of course, he's known for being one of the greatest, if not the greatest, manager in professional wrestling history. Of course, he had the Heenan family. He managed Mr. Perfect, Ravishing Rick Rude, Andre the Giant, of course, which led to the iconic WrestleMania 3 main event between Hulk Hogan and Andre the Giant in the Silverdome in front of 93,000 fans. I don't know the exact number, but of course 93,000. And, you know, Bobby the Brain Heenan was responsible for turning Andre the Giant against Hulk Hogan and turning Andre the Giant heel. Bobby the Brain Heenan was just one in a million, you know. He was referred to as the Weasel, and he hated when people referred to him as the Weasel. And of course there was, I forgot if it was one or two Weasel suit matches where Bobby the Brain Heenan was dressed in the Weasel suit. And one thing about Bobby the Brain Heenan that a lot of people, I think, tend to forget is that he actually wrestled back in the day. He wrestled before he became a manager and a ring announcer, but his bread and butter was becoming a ring announcer. I keep saying ring announcer, excuse me, before he became a a ringside commentator and becoming, you know, a manager. There was nobody like Bobby Heenan. His commentary was always on point. I remember, you know, 1991 Survivor Series during the WWF title match between Hulk Hogan and The Undertaker, when Paul Bearer kept getting involved, and Bobby Heenan claimed he didn't see it because his monitor kept kicking in, and then Gorilla Monsoon said, "I'm going to start kicking you in." Bobby the Brain Heenan and Gorilla Monsoon on commentary, they were perfect. They had the best chemistry together, and, you know, they may have disagreed on screen, but off screen they were pretty much best of friends. And you could see how much Gorilla Monsoon meant to Bobby the Brain Heenan when Gorilla Monsoon unfortunately passed away in 1999, and Bobby the Brain Heenan did that touching tribute to him at the start of an episode of Nitro, where Bobby the Brain Heenan said, you know, the pearly gates up in heaven, they're going to be referred to as the gorilla physician. And, you know, it is sad that we lost Bobby the Brain Heenan today, and it is sad we lost Gorilla Monsoon almost 20 years ago. But you got to think about this. Now they're reunited in heaven, Brain and Monsoon. They made a great commentary duo during their heyday. And, you know, when I think of Bobby the Brain Heenan, I think of his great commentary calls. I think of him managing great wrestlers like Mr. Perfect and Andre the Giant and Ravishing Rick Rude. He even managed Terry Taylor when Terry Taylor was the Red Rooster, as infamous as that gimmick is. And I remember the night that Bobby the Brain Heenan announced that Terry Taylor wasn't going to be Terry Taylor anymore. He tells the ring announcer, this man is no longer to be referred to as Terry Taylor. He's now to be referred to as the Red Rooster. You got me straight. And it's just, that's why Bobby the Brain Heenan was a great, you know, manager and commentator for things like that. I remember at one point he excuse me, he called the gobbledygooker the gibbly-gawker. You know, just Bobby the Brain Heenan had so many great memories in WWF and in WCW when he went over to do commentary for Monday Night Nitro, and for Monday Nitro, excuse me. And I think he did commentary for Saturday Night. Was it WCW Saturday Night? Yeah, I believe it was WCW Saturday Night. It's not WCW's Saturday Night main event. That was WWF. But yeah, I remember Heenan just saying like some of the funniest things. Like there was one time on in WCW, he was calling a match with Tony Schiavone, and there was a guy named the Assassin who was wrestling. And I remember he said, I know who the Assassin is, because the Assassin used to wear a mask. And I don't know who the guy was in real life, but Tony Schiavone then asked, okay, so who is he, Brain? And Brain's like, he's a guy in the ring wearing a mask. You know, Heenan would just say that kind of funny stuff. And it was great. I remember at one time him and Gorilla Monsoon were promoting the WWF hotline, and of course Gorilla Monsoon was, you know, encouraging the kids to get their parents' permission before calling, and then Brain chimes in, and if they don't give you permission, just take a baseball bat, sneak up behind them, and bam. See, that's the stuff I love about Bobby the Brain Heenan. He would say that kind of, and it wasn't inappropriate, but he would just say that hilarious stuff, and that's why he was great as a heel, you know. When I think of Bobby the Brain Heenan, other classic moments I think of, WrestleMania, I wouldn't say this was a classic moment, but at WrestleMania 8, he was, you know, while calling the match between Undertaker and Jake the Snake Roberts, he was going, you know, Jake the Snake was in a chokehold. and Bobby the Brain Heenan was going 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Come on, ref, get in there. And like, Gorilla Monsoon's asking him, what are you doing? And Bobby the Brain Heenan's like, hey, the referee could have broke that hold like 3 seconds ago. He's intimidated by that monster. And Gorilla Monsoon would go, well, why don't you go in there and try to stop him? It's like, no, I'm needed here. And then also during WrestleMania 8, I remember during the main, well, not the main event, but during the WWF Championship match between Ric Flair and Macho Man Randy Savage, Bobby Heenan was, because at the time there was that scandal about, Liz and Macho Man being together, and how, or Liz and Ric Flair being together, and how how Macho Man stole Ric Flair from her, and Ric Flair had pictures printed in a magazine, in WWF magazine, about how he and Elizabeth they came first before Macho Man and Liz. He had all these pictures in there, and Heenan's like, come on, Rick, show me the pictures, show me the pictures. And then like towards the end of the match, Ric Flair, I think, like winked at Elizabeth, or blew her a kiss, and Bobby's like, oh, she winked at him, she winked at him. Like, Heenan was great at that stuff, and that's why he will go down as one of the greatest ringside commentators, and of course one of the greatest, or if not the greatest, manager in professional wrestling history. Like I said, guys, the 1982 Royal Rumble was Bobby Heenan's finest moment and finest hour, and there were just tons of great lines, tons of great moments from Heenan, tons of great lines that he called, like one where Big Boss Man's coming after Ric Flair. He charges at Ric Flair, and he misses. He lands on the top rope and then falls over the rope. And since Flair was the only one there, and the match was for the vacant WWF Championship, Heenan goes, Flair wins it. Flair's the champion of the world. Flair wins it. And it was just great. And Gorilla Monsoon's like, what? Are you blind? There are still more guys. It was just great stuff. And then, of course, when Jake the Snake Roberts is attacking Ric Flair, and Roddy Piper goes after Jake, and Bobby Heenan goes, I never thought I'd say this, but thank you, Roddy. It's a kill. It's not a skirt. It's a kill. And then seconds later, Heenan goes after, or not Heenan, excuse me, Piper goes after Flair, and Heenan immediately changes his attitude. He's like, why, you no good freak, you skirt wearing creep. It's not a kill, it's a skirt. It was just, and then he's talking about Virgil, how Virgil at one time won the $1 Million Championship, and then he's like, of course he stole it, but he had it, and Gorilla Monsoon was like, he did not, See, that's what made Heenan and Monsoon's chemistry great, how they were able to work off each other. And Gorilla Monsoon, he constantly said to Bobby Heenan, well, you stop, that was his catchphrase, because Bobby Heenan would be making the most ridiculous claims or whatnot, and that's of course what made Bobby Heenan as special as he is. In WCW, of course, he had that famous line, yeah, but whose side is he on? And I know people give Bobby the Brain Heenan a lot of heat for that, because they feel like he spoiled the whole surprise and shock of Hulk Hogan betraying WCW and joining the NWO. But like Aaron Riff has said, the Bobby Heenan character never trusted Hulk Hogan. And that's why it made sense for him to say something like that. He never trusted Hulk Hogan, so that's why he was unsure. Is he still with WCW, or is he with these renegades known as the Outsiders? And then, of course, when Hogan drops that shocking leg drop, Bobby the Brain Heenan says it best. Hulk Hogan has betrayed WCW. This is the lowest shot ever given to professional wrestling. And Bobby the Brain Heenan was great. And then he even goes off to say, what have I been telling you humanoids all along? What have I been telling you? You humanoids. That's why Bobby was a genius. That's why he was in a league of his own. And that's why he's the renowned legend and Hall of Famer that he is. And then, of course, his iconic calls when Goldberg won the WCW Heavyweight Championship from Hogan in July of 1998. I love when he's cocked, he's ready to hit the spear, and Heenan even says it, look at Goldberg, he's ready, he's ready. And then when he hits the spear and he goes for the jackhammer, he's like, all right, that's step one, now finish him off. And then he even said it, he's like, this place will erupt when he gets him up. And Tony Schiavone, to his credit, did a great call when Goldberg had Hogan up for the jackhammer, and he's, you know, he went, he's got him up, and the crowd's just going crazy. Oh, hell yeah. And then when, you know, Goldberg scored the pin and won the title, Bobby Heenan went, thank you, thank you, thank you, the first undefeated world's heavyweight champion. I don't remember what the winning streak was at that time, but again, Bobby Heenan at his best. And it's very unfortunate we lost someone of his caliber. The only positive I can say is that Bobby Heenan will no longer be in pain, because all the surgery he went through, you know, with his throat cancer and everything, you saw how he was deteriorating. You take a look at Bobby the Brain Heenan in his prime, and then you take a look of a picture at him now, you can totally see a huge difference, and it's not for the best. He barely has a jaw. Well, before he died, he barely had a jaw. He could barely speak. It was very sad, you know. I wish I could have met Bobby the Brain Heenan, but, you know, and tell him how much I appreciated everything he contributed to professional wrestling as a manager, as a commentator. I wish I could have met him and tell him that. But, you know, it's very unfortunate that that he was in the health that he is, and it's very unfortunate that we lost him. But he's not in pain anymore. He's up there with Gorilla Monsoon. They're doing commentary, you know, in front of the man himself. And, you know, I just want to say thank you, Bobby Heenan, for all your great contributions to professional wrestling. Thank you for all your great memories, you know, all the great calls you made during those iconic matches. And, you know, I could go on and on, guys, about classic Bobby Heenan moments, classic Bobby Heenan memories. I mean, I remember in 1991 at SummerSlam during the Intercontinental title match between Mr. Perfect and Bret Hart. Mr. Perfect was getting frustrated, and he looked like he was gonna punch the ref, and Bobby Heenan goes, don't do it, Perfect, don't touch that ref. And then Gorilla Monsoon reminds him, why, disqualification will save his title. And then Heenan immediately goes, all right, then nail him. Like, that's the greatness of Bobby Heenan, you know, the gift of Heenan. Drink it in, man. And not to get put on the list by Chris Jericho for using that, but I mean the gift of Bobby Heenan, you know. So yeah, you know, Bobby Heenan has unfortunately passed away, but he has left. He will not be forgotten. He's definitely left quite a legacy in professional wrestling. It is very sad that he passed away. Like I was saying, guys, you know, his health was deteriorating, you know, for the worse, because like I said, if you look at him now and you look at him before his throat cancer, he's a totally different person. You might not even recognize him because of all the surgery he's had, the fact that he barely has a jaw and everything. And it's just a shame that we lost him, and it's a shame that he fell ill of cancer like that. But again, like I've said, thank you, Bobby Heenan, for all the great moments, memories, all those great matches you called. You know, and his commentary and his heel work as a manager make me appreciate him more. I'm always going to remember Bobby the Brain Heenan for being a great commentator. Excuse me. Yes, he was an incredible manager, and I'll never forget that. But my greatest memories of Bobby Heenan are always going to be the great calls he made as a commentator. 1992 Royal Rumble, WrestleMania 8, SummerSlam 1992, because there was one point in the match where between British Bulldog and Bret Hart, British Bulldog was accompanied by Lennox Lewis, you know, the famed heavyweight boxing champion. And I remember Vince McMahon was promoting Lennox Lewis's upcoming bout with Razor Ruddock. And Bobby Heenan, of course, like the great commentator that he is, he says, Razor Ramon is going to fight Joe Louis. It was just like, I laughed the very first time I heard that. And that's still an iconic line from Bobby the Brain Heenan. And that's why he's one of the all-time greats, for moments like that and for contributions like that to professional wrestling. You know, like I said, I wish I could have met Bobby Heenan. He was at WrestleCon in 2015. I don't know why I didn't stop by and try to meet him, but I wish I could have met him and just tell him how much I appreciate everything he's done in professional wrestling, all his contributions and everything. But that's why, of course, I'm making this video. I always make a video when one of the wrestling greats passes away, especially if it's someone that I really enjoyed watching growing up as a wrestling fan. You know, going back to some other favorite Bobby Heenan memories. I didn't see this moment, but I remember reading this online. It was at Halloween Havoc 94. It was Hogan and Flair I believe it was like, I think the stipulation was if Hogan won, Flair had to leave WCW for some short period of time or whatever. And I remember Eric Bischoff was doing commentary, and Eric Bischoff brought up the fact that when Ric Flair walked by the commentary booth, Heenan held up the four, of course, the iconic symbol for the Four Horsemen. And then Heenan goes, you know, I held up 4 fingers for Flair, but when Hogan walked by, I held up 1 finger. And obviously that means he held up the middle finger, flipping off Hogan, saying, you know, fuck you, Hogan. Didn't want to really say any profanity in this kind of video, but that's pretty much what he was saying. I also remember there was a time in WCW when he and Tony Schiavone, I think this was in 95 or 96, the Super Bowl had just passed. And Bobby Heenan made a bet, a $50 bet, that one team was going to win the Super Bowl. And then Schiavone said that the Super Bowl had already passed. And then and Heenan asked, well, who won the Super Bowl? And so Schiavone said the team that Heenan was putting $50 on. And when Schiavone said that it was Heenan's team that won, Heenan said, you owe me $50. So as a matter of fact, let me look it up real quick. Let me look that line up real quick. All right. It's somewhere here. I'm on WikiQuote looking this up. Let's see. I know it's coming up. It's either in the WCW section or the miscellaneous section, but I believe. Let's see. I just want to see what team it was that won. Okay, I gotta go up. Just give me a minute, guys. Okay, here it goes. So he says, tell you what, Schiavone, let's make a wager in the Super Bowl. Now, this was 1994 for $50. I'll take the Cowboys and you take the Bills. Schiavone then says, the Super Bowl was 2 months ago. Brain says, who won? And Schiavone says, the Cowboys. And Brain says, you owe me $50. See, again, like I've said throughout this whole video, that was a genius of Bobby Brain Heenan. He would take certain things like that and he would use them to his advantage, or he would use them, he would present them in from his perspective and to his advantage. You know, like the whole maybe her shoes are too tight during WrestleMania 7 when the women are crying during the reunion of Macho Man and Miss Elizabeth. Like, about, yeah, only Bobby Heenan would say something like that during a beautiful moment like Liz and Savage's reunion. But that's just a testament to his genius and his brilliance. I know I do have some comments. I have a couple from TN Couponer. First off, he said, this one caught me by surprise. Hashtag RIP Bobby Heenan. He also said, still remember at WCW Uncensored 1996, he said, put your Doberman in the figure 8 during the Tower of Doom. I haven't seen Uncensored 96. I don't even know what the hell that means. And then Willie from Philly, Rev of Truth, says, God has a new heel manager. Weasel, will miss you. A big hug and kiss in the cheek. Thanks for everything. Thank you guys for your comments. And yes, thank you again, Bobby Heenan, for everything like I've said. Just, you know, looking at other classic moments from Bobby Heenan's career. Here's the line I was talking about with the assassin, that guy wearing the mask. And this one's funny. Oh, wait. This one's really funny. So the woman who would sing Mr. Wonderful Paul and Orndorff's entrance music had a very high voice. And Bobby Heenan says, do you know who that is? That's Gino sitting on a block of ice. Oh, we miss you, Bobby. There will never be another like you. I think I'm going to end the video here, guys, unless I think of other classic Bobby the Brain Heenan moments. Well, I do remember one with Gorilla Monsoon. Bobby's on the line. He's talking to somebody on the line. I'm not sure if this was during primetime wrestling, but I remember he's talking to somebody about tickets for WrestleMania 7, they were on sale. And then the person on the line is starting to get smart with him. And he says, don't get smart with me. I'll smack you in the mouth. Or do you want me to knock you down? And then as the screen's fading, Heenan says, I'll talk to you later, Mom. So Bobby the Brain Heenan is just basically saying he'll slap his own mother or he'll knock his own mother down. And in the 1992 Royal Rumble, I remember he said, I think when Ric Flair hit a low blow on the British Bulldog, he'd do something like that out of desperation to his own grandmother if he had to, because of course, what was on the line, the vacant WWF championship. But yeah, like the 1992 Royal Rumble will always be my favorite Bobby Heenan memory because of all the great commentary he did during that match, how much he was rooting for Ric Flair, all the other things like, you know, praising Roddy Piper for saving Ric Flair and then calling him a skirt-wearing freak when he attacked Flair, saying that Flair won the championship when Boss Man eliminated himself. I just remember this famous Bobby Heenan quote. This was from WWF. He called Hillbilly Jim the Hick from Mud Lick. He's telling Gorilla Monsoon that's the wrong way you introduce Bobby the Brain. I'm getting tongue-tied. Hillbilly Jim. And then Brain's like, well, how would you do it, Brain? And he goes, ladies and gentlemen, the Hick from Mud Lick, Hillbilly Jim. That was great. I also remember him referring to Coco Beware's mother as Tupperware, because Tupperware is a form of food container and stuff. I remember he said thinking about it, I remember he said if Coco Beware's bird Frankie was living in his house, he'd be a shake and bake. He'd be a shake and bake. Okay, so basically Bobby Heenan said if Coco Beware's bird Frankie was living in his house, he'd be living in oh my, okay. Okay, I'm sorry. Let me say it before I lose my train of thought. Bobby Heenan once said, oh my God. Okay, Bobby Heenan once said, if Coco Beware's bird Frankie was living in his house, he'd be living in a shake and bake bag. Do you like your parents original or extra crispy? Oh, we miss you, Bobby. This is a really sad loss for professional wrestling. This is a really, really sad day for professional wrestling. But I laugh when I think of those classic lines from Bobby the Brain Heenan. Yeah. I'm trying to think if there's anything else I want to say or any other lines from Bobby the Brain Heenan, excuse me. But that shake and bake line was priceless. That shake and bake line was priceless. I think I'm gonna end it on this note, guys. Once again, I just want to say thank you very much, Bobby the Brain Heenan, for all your contributions to professional wrestling. Thank you for all those great moments as a heel manager, all those great moments on commentary with Gorilla Monsoon. Thank you for being Bobby the Brain Heenan. You are one in a million. You are one of a kind. There will never be another like you. My prayers and thoughts and condolences go out to the Heenan family. And when you think about it, you know, the Heenan family are pretty much reunited now up in heaven. You got Bobby Heenan, Ravishing Rick Rude, Mr. Perfect. I'm trying to think who were some other members of the Heenan family. But yeah, you got the Heenan family reunited in heaven. You also got Bobby Heenan reunited with Gorilla Monsoon. So I can only imagine that they're entertaining God right now with their commentary. They're just calling whatever match is going on in heaven. And yeah, guys, it's a very sad day for professional wrestling. You know, hey, Bobby's up there with the greats like Dusty Rhodes and Roddy Roddy Piper, and it's crazy to think that 2 years ago we lost them. We lost them within a short span of time from one another's deaths. We lost one right after the other. So yeah, it's very unfortunate and very sad. And when I watch Bobby Heenan, his archival footage on the WWE Network, I'm gonna smile because I do appreciate everything Bobby the Brain Heenan did. And it's very sad to know that there will never be another Bobby Heenan. It's very sad to know that he did pass away today. The only thing, like I said, that's a positive is that he's not in pain anymore. He's not suffering anymore. He's up there in heaven with Gorilla Monsoon. And he's up there with all his other wrestling brothers and all those other wrestling greats that we've lost over the years. And I'm just going to end it by saying thank you, Bobby Heenan. Rest in peace. We love you. We miss you. You were one of a kind. And if you guys post anything on social media today, let's get the hashtag RIP Brain trending. So thank you all for watching and listening. This is Robbie One Kenobi signing off. And again, I just want to say thank you, Bobby Heenan. You will be missed. There will never be another like you. Thank you for everything. They referred to you as a weasel. I always remember you as a legend, an icon, a Hall of Famer, and a brain. The brain. And like you said, they stick with you, they go to the top. They don't stick with you, they don't listen to you, they're never heard from again. Thank you very much, Bobby Heenan. Thank you all for watching and listening. Everybody have a good day. And once again, Bobby Heenan, rest in peace. And thank you for everything you did. You will be missed. And you are truly one of my all-time favorites in wrestling. And there will never be another like you. You are one in a million. And you're one of a kind. Thank you, sir. Rest in peace. And God bless.